It was a Tennessee Saturday night to remember, Harbin. Where were you last night?
Well, I was in ZZ11, row four, sparking up a cigar next to Big Jake from Cherokee Lake.
Yes.
And
I was in Z11, by the way.
then I went back to G10, fired up another cigar, and watched that big, bright, beautiful, big orange moon illuminate the Tennessee River after the game.
That was pretty cool there in the garage. Seeing that come up over the Henley Street Bridge where the old Baptist Hospital used to be. Big orange moon. It was a sign. That's when So Minot was there and he looked at me and he said, Niece, the Lord's been good to me the past couple days. I said, yes, he has.
Absolutely.
We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, he looked at me and said, I was over there trying to take pictures of it. And he looked at me and said, Niece, the Lord's been good to me the past couple days. I was like, Amen. Yes, he has. Um, Huge day yesterday. Sorry, I'm not talking very loud. I've been battling, I'm not going to say throat issues because I don't want to open up that can of worms. I'm battling voice issues today,
Oh,
Harbin.
gotcha. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, no throat problems. We'll leave the throat out of it. No need to go there. But yeah, it was it. I was sitting there in the stadium during the pregame. Band was out on the field, and they were doing the national anthem and just looking around. It's like the third Saturday in October. It's like where else would you rather be? And some people who chose not to go maybe sold their tickets. They were at home sitting on the couch with their hand down their pants, maybe eating a pizza. And
What?
how could you? I just can't. Like my mind can't fathom not being there in that environment. Um, Third Saturday in October, just the tradition that it is, pageantry, everything about it. It was just an awesome day. Made even more awesome that Tennessee found a way to win that game and improved to 6-1. But it was just incredible atmosphere yesterday in that stadium. Um, I wasn't in the stands for the 2015 Oklahoma game. I was up in East 522. I mean, it was wild up there, but that game yesterday, there in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, I was telling my dad at lunch today, I was like, I felt like I was standing next, like when we were using a chainsaw or something, and you're standing next to the chainsaw. That's what my ears felt like down there in Z11. And I was contributing to that. I called it the Z11 effect. They call it the Neyland effect, but Z11 was raucous yesterday. I'm sure double Z11 was as well. But that atmosphere on those defensive stands by Tennessee late, especially late in the game, but it was pretty much the whole game. I'm up to the halftime point of the game on my rewatch. And Sean McDonough, the announcer, said several times that how they kept talking about how raucous the crowd was. And it's like we said last week. I mean, Tennessee fans got frustrated a couple times. There was some boos scattering down when the offense would either turn it over or not do anything, but they never left the Volunteers. They always had their back. And that I don't know what it sounded like up where you were, but the noise was just incredible last night or yesterday afternoon in that stadium. I yeah don't know what it was like versus Oklahoma that year, but it had to compare to it. I mean, I looked up one time and it said the decibel level was 128.5 or something like that. And I don't know how accurate those things are. I gave Georgia a lot of crap a couple years ago for putting their decibel meter up on the screen, and rightfully so. Theirs had 125 up, and nobody was even yelling. But I mean, ours every time you looked up was over 100 yesterday. Oh, what was it like up there where you were at?
Oh, it was raucous. I'm up there in the Granger County club level. as I like to say. It's club level because I'm in the lower part of the upper deck.
That's where we were in YY8. Me and Day Day and Big Montana, we were always in the club level.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not trying to flex too hard. I'm humble. But yeah, club level of Granger County seats. Anyway, um, that place was loud. I want to give us some credit. It was sustained, even with throwing up a goose egg in the first half. Every time Alabama had the ball, that place was rocking. Um, and it wasn't like the crowd took a drive off or anything like that. I mean, it was balls of the wall for 60 minutes. Um, and you could feel it. Um, and you could tell that Alabama could feel it too. Off the top of my head, bare minimum four false starts, um, multiple other penalties, but we had a ton of penalties as well. There's a bunch in the game combined. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's got to be. It's definitely top five of like loudest it's been from start to finish that I've been in that stadium. I don't know about you. You've been to more games than I have. But off the top of my head, the only two that, in my opinion, were louder would be the Alabama game 2 years ago and probably Florida in 2016.
Yeah,
Uh,
Florida 2016 was pretty loud. Bama 2 years ago was pretty loud.
Florida 2 years ago was loud too.
Florida 2 years ago. Florida last week. I posted
Yeah.
a video on YouTube. I don't know if you ever watched it. It's a little 2.5 minute clip of some Tennessee's on third down several times, just how loud that stadium was. I mean, if you go on the Section YY8 YouTube channel, you can see them. I don't know that I took enough yesterday to put one together, but I mean, it was last week was loud too. And there's been others over the years. I remember one when I was in college, Notre Dame 2004, a loss, but it got loud. But it wasn't the whole game loud. You know what I mean? It was like the game got tight in the second half. We ended up losing, but the game got tight in the second half and it got really loud. But, first half it was loud, but, it wasn't game changing loud. Like Bama really struggled right out of the gate. They had a false start, first drive of the game, false start, a terrible snap. I mean, right out of the gate, they're third and 16. I mean, it had a massive, whether they would ever admit it or not, it had a massive effect on Alabama yesterday.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure you saw this. I'm 99% certain it was a fake quote going around Facebook and a little bit of Twitter. It's talking about how allegedly DeBoer said that he coached at Washington and crowd noise wasn't going to be a factor, which I'm nearly positive that was 100% a fake quote.
It was AI. It was an
Yeah,
AI video.
for sure. Well, I just saw a graphic, but the AI video makes it even funnier. But the funny thing is, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, there's a lot of people out there that were dumb enough to believe it,
Yeah.
but it's so dumb that it's genius because they bought into that and made it louder.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense whatsoever. It was almost like we were so dumb we were brilliant.
Well, when I first saw it, I was like, man, did he really say that? And then the video popped up and you could tell. I mean, it's like any of those AI videos. It sounds just like him, but the lips weren't the lips weren't matching up to what he was saying, but it was a funny video.
Yeah.
But you're right. Some people, I heard somebody at work say, "Can you believe he said that?" And I was like, "You do know that's not real, right?" I had to go show them, and they were like, "Oh crap, I thought that was real." Kind of like somebody I knew felt 2 years ago that Tennessee Alabama was going to wear their color rush jerseys. for this game. And somebody, it was, I think Richard G. West had basically just colored different jerseys onto these onto two Alabama players, and they believe it. But yeah, it was atmosphere yesterday, unbelievable. Um, and pregame before we get into the game here, Hart. Pregame atmosphere at G10. I know you had to step out and go to another tailgate there for a little bit, but atmosphere in G10 was incredible yesterday. Biggest crowd I think we've had at our tailgate, but I looked around at one point, told Patrick, I was like, I think this is the biggest crowd I've ever seen in this garage. Like you just looked around, it was a sea of humanity up there. Um, but yeah, G10 yesterday, YY8 tailgate, incredible. Thank you for everybody that came. It was a huge day. There's some people there. Shout out Bain. Buckeye Bain was there. Wes was there. Wes Schultz. Drew Taylor showed up.
Jordan swung by.
Jordan, oh yeah, we had two professional athletes at the
Yeah, we
tailgate
did.
yesterday. Jordan Bowden, former Vol, who's been on the show before. Jordan Bowden swung by and said hey to us. Took a couple pictures with some people. So shout out Jordan for coming by. Good to see him. He had to leave a little bit to go other places, but appreciated him swinging by. And then Jake Minot, professional golfer. So tell us before we get into the game, we had Jake on and Tom last week, and they were over there in Winston-Salem. You caddied for Jake, and I know how he did. You obviously know how he did, but tell the listeners who may not know, how did Jake do in his qualifying event?
Well, last week we talked about the importance of surviving advance, and the kid survived and he advanced. I don't know. It was a wild feeling. It's 4 days. There's no cut. They just take the top X however many. Each stage is different. This one was the top 21 in ties, got through to the next stage out of, I believe, 85 or 90 guys. I'm not exactly sure how many were in it. That's a tough ass golf course. I'll say that. So, fun fact, I believe there was 9 or 10 first stage sites across the country, and this one had the highest scores of people that advanced. Um,
Wow.
Tough golf course, even under perfect conditions. But the whole week that we were there was a cold front that blew in. I think the warmest it got, I mean, it got nice at times, but I think the absolute warmest it got was 72. Um, Wind blew all week long. Unless you played in the morning, then it was like high 30s with still a little bit of wind. Morning rounds were just semi miserable. Just to be 100% honest with you. And I wasn't even the one playing. I was just carrying a bag around. Uh,
Yeah.
but the second round was the worst weather by far. And we teed off at 8:45, I think. It was overcast all day. The high was like 58. When we teed off, it was 36. And Jake shot even and it felt like 65. Like, I even looked at him. I was like, dude, that was some really good golf. And he's like, I shot even. It literally felt like I just said, felt like 65. But needed some theatrics at the end to get it done. Some self-inflicted. I almost screwed him really, really bad. You have to work on my wind reading skills, but got it done. Birdie on 18 to make it on the number. Semi storybook, to be honest with you.
So I saw the score. I told you this when we were loading up the truck yesterday morning. I saw the score, saw that Jake had made it, but I had no idea that he had to birdie 18 for the listeners. Again, I know this, but did he know that he had to birdie 18 to advance?
Yes, short answer. Going into the day, I think we were 2 shots out, but we knew that he was probably going to have to shoot 4 under to make it. Um, and we both agreed that neither one of us would look at the scoreboard. Well, I broke that pact. I just didn't tell him. I was looking at it the absolute whole round. Um, he birdied five of his first six holes, and I was like, okay, I don't even have to look at this anymore. Um, then we hit a little bit of trouble on the back nine. Next thing you know, uh, we're going into 16, and I know we need a birdie, and I haven't said anything to him. Makes a huge par on 16, and then he looks at me walking up 17. He's like, "All right, like talk to me for real. Have you looked at it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have." And he's like, "Well, what do I need to do?" I was like, "You need a birdie." Well, 17's par five. It's pretty gettable. I was like, "All right, we're gonna get one here, smooth sailing, because 18's a very hard hole. We don't make birdie, makes par, and 18 is either the hardest or second hardest hole on the property out there. Um, Straight uphill on your second shot, kind of blind. You don't know where it's going. Long as I'll keep this short. Hits one, it never leaves flag stick, but we don't know where it is. We're just kind of almost running up the hill, and he's got a 4 footer, but it's on the side of a cliff, and it's like, oh boy, I couldn't even watch almost. I think I was just as nervous as he was, but he made it, and then we had to sit in the torture chamber for about an hour and a half, wait for the other lads that were close to him to come in, and we finally got the good news, and my man's on to the next stage. I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, I was I was asking him at the tailgate yesterday. I said, "What was it like?" And he said, "Niece, I was a nervous wreck." I went up there to putt. He said my hands were almost shaking. I said, "I can promise you that you probably were because that's man, it's like what he wants to do and what he wants to get to. He's got to make that putt, and it's like everything's on the line here. So, yeah, congrats to Jake. We hung out with him there yesterday, and um, he was very excited to move on, obviously, and we're excited for him. So we'll keep everybody in tune and up to date on where he's at next. I don't think you all will know that for probably what a week or so, maybe a couple weeks, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I think we find out the day after the Kentucky game.
gotcha. So it'll be a while before he plays again, but we'll keep you guys posted and probably have Jake back on to. I think we probably need to get him back on the night before the round, like we have the last two times, because it seems to work. Seems
Yeah,
to be the magic
yeah.
charm. So
We need to we need to keep that streak alive.
yes, we'll find out when he plays next, and we'll have him back on so he can preview where he's at, talk about what he's got to do to move on. So speaking of surviving and advancing, Harb, the Tennessee Volunteers continue to survive and advance. I was watching the game in here, the replay of it, and there was a break in the action, and they were Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy were talking about what this game meant to both teams as far as playoffs. Playoffs. Um, with a win, I think it said Alabama was like 86% chance FPI to make the playoffs. With a win, Tennessee was 70%. Tennessee's strength of schedule, I haven't looked it up, but you just look at their schedule right now. It's not got a lot on there. I mean, you looked at it at the start of the season, and you thought NC State was ranked, Oklahoma was ranked, and you thought those are two pretty big games. Tennessee can win them. That makes things look really good. Well, Tennessee won those games, and those two teams are not very good right now at all. Oklahoma, I was telling Harb before we started recording, fired their offensive coordinator this afternoon. So they're really struggling, especially on the offensive side of the football, but they're not very good this year. NC State's not as good as everybody thought they may be. So those wins don't look as good as they did. I said it last week though. Tennessee has beaten Oklahoma and Florida, two big name programs, and now they've beaten Alabama. I mean, you any season you go into, you tell somebody like, "Yeah, we beat Oklahoma, Florida, and Alabama." It's like, man, that's a pretty dang good season going right there. And Tennessee does have a good season. I'm not saying that, but their schedule has left it to where right now they got a little work to do to show people that while they are playoff contenders, that they are worthy of the playoffs. But they just got to survive in advance. All they can do is win the games that's on their schedule, and that's what they're doing right now. And they got a week off, and then they got Kentucky, who's obviously not great. And then they've got Mississippi State, who's playing better, but they're not great either. And then they've got Georgia. So take care of business, move on, and then you got Georgia, and we'll get into the schedule and everything. But yesterday, Tennessee, a huge win at home. Second time in 3 years they've beaten Alabama at Neyland Stadium. Uh, it's the stats. We were eating at the Waffle House last night, Harbin, me and you and my uncle and Griff and Kingston. Um, Heupel's 4-0 at home versus Alabama and Florida the last two times they've been here. Or I guess over his time frame, he's 4-0. And then he's beat those two teams four times in his tenure here, and he's in his fourth season. Well, what did we do before he got here? What was it? What was the stat, Harbin? One win in the last 20 years.
Since '07, we were 1-27 combined against Florida and Alabama, and he's beat them four times.
Yeah. And that one win was the 2016 Florida game.
Yeah. Well, I think the stat was from like Fulmer's last year until
Yeah.
2022, I guess. Yeah.
Well, '07, we didn't beat Florida or Bama. And his last year was '08. We didn't beat Florida or Bama in either one of those. So, yeah, you could go back, really after the '06 season from '07 up until Heupel got here. It was, I mean, one win against Florida and Alabama. And then you throw Georgia in. Yeah, we beat them in 15. We beat them in '09. We beat them in 16. Let's see, '09, 15, 16, and then nothing. Haven't beat them since. So you throw Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. You said this. It's the three games that a coach is judged on here at Tennessee. They might go 8-4, but if you lose all three of those games, you're like, what are we doing here? We can't even beat the teams that matter, the games matter the most against. Heupel's done a pretty good job of beating these teams that we want to beat. But I mean, just a huge. I can't understate how big of a win that was yesterday for Tennessee. It was a bigger win for Tennessee than it was Alabama. I know both teams wanted to win, but statistically, analytically, so much bigger of a win for Tennessee. Um, it was not the prettiest game I've ever been to, especially on the offensive end for Tennessee. But Alabama, I was just looking here. We were talking. Alabama had 15 penalties, 115 yards. Tennessee had 11 penalties, 95 yards. Sloppy game. Five combined turnovers, three by Tennessee, two by Alabama. Jaden Milroe was throwing the ball all over the place, not to his receivers. Nico Iamaleava struggled in the first half. Tennessee just could not get anything going. He's struggling to hit big plays down the field, but give Tennessee's defense credit. I don't know if I was talking to you about this or somebody else, but it was day after the game. We were sitting there smoking our cigars, but I said, you haven't been. I know you brought up Bobby Stanton. I've been a little skeptical of Tennessee's front seven, but just because of the opponents we've played. I'm not anymore. After the last 3 weeks at Arkansas, Florida, and yesterday, those guys are nasty. They're legit and they're deep. I mean, they have got, I think they're rotating like 9 or 10 guys on that front seven, even with Peely out. But that front four is, I mean, they are constantly in the backfield. It's crazy, but they kept Tennessee. They are keeping Tennessee in these games. They're doing what they need to do to give the offense a chance. Um, and Tennessee, I thought in the second half, offensively, kind of like the Florida game, they caught fire late, but I thought the second half they played pretty well offensively for the most part. They were able to run the ball. They finally got some creases in there on the line. was able to run the ball with Sampson. He had a huge second half. And then Nico hit some plays downfield and got in a little bit of a rhythm after not being able to hit anything in the in the first half. He was pretty sharp in the second half, I thought, but just a massive win for Tennessee. Um, what's your thoughts on the game?
Um, I said there was two keys to victory, and if we did both of them, we were going to win. Um, the first one that I didn't put too much emphasis on was if we had success on the ground, we'd be fine. Well, we ran for 220 yards on 5.5 yards a carry. 139 of those came from Dylan Sampson, who, in my opinion, is probably a top five running back in the country. Um, I don't think that's crazy to say. The numbers back it up. He has 17 touchdowns through 7 games. Go argue with a brick wall if you don't like what I just said. Um, Nico had 44 yards on 9 carries. I like it when he gets a little active on the ground,
Yes.
especially especially that first drive after he came back from injury, or whatever it was. Um, you can vouch for me on this. In the stadium, the place went silent. Like
It did.
nobody knew if as far as I know, he may have just got the wind knocked out of him or got shaken up.
It was something with his back. It's like this. I don't know if it's like a stinger or what, but it was something with his lower back.
So, I mean, nobody knew.
Mm-mm.
Gaston Moore comes in, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I love the play of letting him sling it because it was 3rd and 8, midfield. I was like, we're gonna run it up the right guard's ass right here and just punt, which is what most coaches do right there. But you let the guy sling it, and honestly, it's kind of genius, because if it works out, awesome. It's a spark, and if it don't, it was the backup, you know. Um, but the biggest thing for me, and I preached this all week, was if you make Jalen Milrow play quarterback, you're going to win this football game. 25 for 45, 239 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And the biggest stat of them all, he carried the ball 14 times for 11 yards. We absolutely shut him down on the ground, and 10 of those came on one rush, by the way. Um, Ryan Williams is a dog, by the way. I do just, I have to say that. Jamard McCoy had a phenomenal game. Don't get me wrong, but
Yes.
that was a hell of a matchup to watch. I think Jamard McCoy played close to an A game. Yeah, that interception in the end zone, one was huge, and two was just an absolute wild play. Um, but yeah, you make Jalen Milrow play quarterback. You take his legs away, he's bottom tier in the SEC at throwing the ball. And we did exactly that. Designed runs, that little jet sweep and fake jet sweep they love to do. We shut that play down multiple times.
Yeah.
Um, James Pierce Jr. had a massive game off the top of my head. 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. Every time he did something, it was a big play. Um, Obviously, we mentioned Jamad McCoy. Honestly, for me, the game ball on defense goes to Will Brooks, or as some of Tennessee's players have said, the coldest white boy out there. I have dubbed him Trill Brooks. I wish we had I wish there was a name in Tennessee history for a DB that I could think of an entente. Like, for example, the Eagles have a white DB and they call him Chalk Doc after Brian Dawkins.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of a nickname for a month and I can't find one that really rolls off the tongue very well. Somebody's going to eventually. Arion Carter played big. Um, Boo Carter had a pretty good game. I mean, everybody on defense played well. Defense, I would say, as a whole, probably an A plus. Um, because I said this to Jake at halftime. I was like, dude, we're down by 7, and it feels like we're down by 17. Just with the way the offense is playing. And another thing, speaking on the offense, 2 games in a row, and I wanted to stab myself in the forehead when it happened. 2 games in a row where you're absolutely rolling down the field on your first possession of the game, and you
Yes.
fumble and lose every single bit of momentum there is. You make Bama go. Did they go 3-and-out on the first drive? I know it was a quick
Yes. They did.
3-and-out with a false start. The crowd is absolutely going bananas. You get the ball, you're rolling. Dylan Sampson breaks off a huge run. Then he coughs it up. And in the Florida game, it was Nico that did it. So it's just like, it's like, man, like, what if those 2 plays don't happen? Like the offense potentially looks incredibly different. Um, and I think it was just demoralizing from a mental standpoint, especially in the Bama game, because you're going right down the field and you're like, damn it, like we did all that for nothing, And I think I don't know, it's hard trying to put your brain in their standpoint because obviously never played at their level, but it was almost like they're kind of trying to press to get back their mistake and they just couldn't really get anything going. Um, but the last 3 games for the offense in the first half have been so incredibly frustrating because we've looked really good on offense in the third quarter, all 3 of those games. Every point we scored against Arkansas was in the third quarter. I believe we scored 17 in the third quarter against Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Um, at least 10 or 14. It was double digits. I know that.
Yeah, I think it was 10.
And then in the Bama game, you scored 10. No, you scored 14 in the third quarter against the Bama game. Then we kicked the field goal in the fourth. So credit to the coaching staff for making second half adjustments, but hell, boys, let's get something rolling in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the cardiac Vols thing is kind of fun, but it's really not. I'd like to score a couple in the first half, and that way I don't need a Xanax by the time the game's over.
Um, honestly, you're not wrong about the first half. They but you're not wrong about it, feeling like we should be down like 17-0. We could have been very easily. But I looked at Big Montana and Day Day there at the half, and I was like, how many points did we leave out on the field? We could have been up 17-7. I mean, Nico missed 2 guys that if they catch the ball in stride, they're walking in the end zone on 2 separate drives for
That
touchdowns.
that post route directly in front of where we were sitting
Yes.
was sickening. I mean,
Yes.
he could have moonwalked into the end zone.
Yes.
Was that Brazel?
I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it
God.
was Brazel twice in the
Well,
first half.
there was one deep ball to Brazel coming towards us that he didn't even try for, and I'm not saying that he should have caught it or even if he could have, but it was almost like when he saw it in there, he's like, "Damn, it's way over my head." But where the ball hit, as opposed to where he was,
Yeah.
like, hey, you could have extended and at least got a hand on it. It could have been close. But yeah, there's a couple. I will say that Nico looked much better, especially on long balls in the second half.
Yes.
That one, it didn't look near as good on TV as it did from our angle. But that one where he rolled out to the right and threw a deep ball to Thornton, where Thornton got stopped on the 5 right before our first touchdown,
Hmm.
that was one of the best throws I've seen in person. That throw was
It was an
ab-
incredible throw and catch.
absolutely insane. Yeah, that was one of the best plays of the game. Seriously.
I looked at Big Montana one time. I was like, man, he's got to keep throwing them. I said, I know we're not hitting on any of them, but they got to keep throwing them because the statistics and analytics tell you at some point he's going to hit it. They're going to hit one at some point. This was in like the second quarter. I said they're going to hit one at some point. They're taking too many shots here and not and coming up short. And they finally did a couple different times in the second half. But the one to Thornton going toward the south end zone is kind of like it's Griff said it in the truck. He said, Niece, you said it on your show last week, and I've just been hesitant, but I think you're right. He said this offense just looks like it's like right there, ready to like take off, not take off like in 22, but at least get to last year's level at some point. Cause I don't think they're at last year's level even at this point yet, but it's like they're just can't get out of their own way at different points, whether it's Nico fumbling or Samson fumbling or Nico trying to throw the ball away and getting the ball tipped and it's an interception in your own red zone. A holding call, illegal formate. We had a big play, illegal formation. It's just those little things, and they're just can't get out of their own way. But they got out of their own way in the second half, and look what happened. The penalties were limited to a certain extent, and they executed it at a decent level. I don't want to say a high level, but they executed at a pretty good level. And look what happened. Scored 24 points. Um, but I just feel like they're right there. Like, and if I was rewatching the game in here, and like I said, I'm only at halftime, but that first one he overthrew to Brazel on that post pattern, and they zoom in on him, and he just says, "Oh my God!" And you could just tell it's like, how did I miss that? And he didn't just miss it; he overshot him by 10 or 15 yards. It wasn't even close. But that's what's encouraging to me is I think he's making the right reads. For the most part, I think he's making the right decision. Um, he's gotta he's gotta throw it where they can catch it. And then his wide receivers, and they stepped up in the second half too, but there were some catchable footballs that they didn't catch in the first half yesterday.
Oh, Brew had
Score
2 of them.
Yeah, Brew had two, Squirrel White had one. I wanna think was it Brazel or Thornton had one maybe, but there was three or four drops, and I don't know statistically how many there were, but my negative nieces statistic says there was four. So, I mean, I text somebody yesterday. I was like, they were like, "Oh, Nico Milton 2.0, here we go again." I was like, his receivers got to help him a little bit too. I mean, you throw the ball, somebody's got to catch it. And there was three or four passes that he threw that they weren't perfect, no, but those boys got to catch them. They're playing at this level for a reason, and they've got gloves on that's basically got glue on them. Catch the football. Um, but all that being said, I felt like second half they grew up, they executed in a tough environment. Backs were against the wall, down 17-14. They stepped up. Couple stats I want to throw out there to you, Harbin. I saw these this afternoon. The last, was it three? I think the last three drives Alabama had the football, they had 4 total yards. Um, Torres on Tennessee tweeted this. Tennessee held Alabama to 77 yards rushing yesterday, the lowest total the Tide have rushed for against the Vols since 2006. What did we do in that game? We won. Tennessee ran for 214 yards yesterday, the highest total the Vols have rushed for against the Crimson Tide since 1998. We also won that game. Also an incredible tweet. It just popped up here. Or I just saw it. Tennessee basketball, they were honored during the timeout for winning the SEC championship last year. And the boys came out on the field. Triple J was with them wearing a Bobby Hill shirt. for Heupel, and their tweet on here was one of our let's see our first of two visits to the field last night. That was pretty good, referencing the rushing of the field, which we'll get to here in a minute. I know Harbin and I have got some takes on that. Maybe unpopular, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, I thought the offense, I said sitting there in the stadium, like, boys, somebody's gonna have to make a play. And Dylan Sampson found some holes, carried the football, set them up, and they went to work. So shout out to the Vols offense for not not you know not giving up and finding a way, and they did. And the defense held tight in check. They did their job.
I've got to give credit where it's due. The O-line played much better.
Yes, they
I've
did.
I, I've been very critical, and it's been deserving. Shout out to them boys. They played much, much better, and they're a big part of the reason of why we won. So I have to eat my crow, and I'm gladly doing it. Shout out to the TVA.
Yeah, I forgot about that. God. No, they did play much better. Lance Hurd played a pretty clean game. I think he had maybe one holding call, but it really wasn't of consequence. Um, Campbell he had his hold, but that was it. They limited their mistakes, and they, for the most part, protected Nico. He had to scramble a few times, but I thought, you know, running the ball in the first half, it was hard to find some room, but second half, they seemed to get better as the game went along, which is what good running teams do. And Tennessee's a good running team. Um, I mean, I thought Jermod McCoy, man, he is playing his tail end off right now. He's good. Um, Glad we got him because I was critical all year last year of our secondary. I just didn't think they were very good, and we replaced every one of them this offseason pretty much. And I didn't know what to think about this secondary. I think that was my biggest question mark in our preview episode a couple months ago. I was like, the secondary, what's it going to be like? It was such an unknown. Well, they've been fantastic. But that it all starts with that front four. They're causing havoc on the quarterback. They're shutting down the run game or handling the run game for whoever they're playing. And I just think the secondary's been good. They've been good, especially McCoy. But you got Christian Charles back there who's playing pretty well. Obviously, Trail Brooks back there's playing well. And then you got the linebackers, even with Peely out. T-Lander on top of his game. And by the way, we met T-Lander's dad at Arkansas, and I cannot find a way to get a hold of that guy. Try to get T-Lander on here maybe at some point, but I'm still working on that. But T-Lander's playing well. Arian Carter's playing well. Then you throw in freshman Boo Carter in there. Like, what's he going to be like? And he's been forced to play because of injury. I hadn't noticed the drop off. So that's why you recruit at the level Tennessee has been recruiting at the last couple of years. Um, you know, recruit a little better on the offensive line and see what happens. He's kind of patching it the last 2 or 3 years with transfer portal guys, but McCoy yesterday was fantastic. I just thought he was awesome. Him and Sampson were my player of the games.
Yeah. My game ball still goes to Trill back there, but that three-headed monster is the reason that we won that football game, along with our defensive line as a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So incredible win. Tennessee moves to 6-1. Um, Trill Brooks picks that pass off at the end. Total jubilation, elation. Everybody, smoke starts to rise. Cigars are being lit. We're sitting there lighting them, and I'm talking to the people behind me, Big Montana, Day Day, and I look up and you see like a handful of people running onto the field, and I'm like, man, they're letting people out on the field. There's no way we do this again. Here they go. About 2 or 3 minutes afterwards, the whole field's covered again. And I looked at Big Montana and I said, really? we're rushing the field like we did this 2 years ago. Now I'm not defending it. Obviously, you know my opinion, Harbin. I was not in favor of that last night. I think that's beneath Tennessee. We're better than that. I cannot believe that that happened. Actually, I can believe that it happened, but um, I can't believe that it happened. Can't believe we did that. But I didn't know this, but apparently it's happened before when we beat Alabama to end. I think it was an 11-year win streak in '82. They rushed the field, tore the goalpost down. That's the famous photograph I've got in my office, and you see around aerial photo of the World's Fair with Neyland Stadium on game day, Tennessee, Alabama. They won 35-28. And then they beat them in '84 again. So back to back wins at home. They rushed the field again, tore the goalpost down in '84. So it's happened twice. I just cannot believe that we did that last night. And I know I'm probably going to be called negative. I'm negative niece. I can take it. I know your opinion on it. And I've talked to several others that it's like, really, we rushed the field again? It just wasn't the same to me. I mean, 2 years ago, we hadn't beat Alabama since 2006. It was warranted, and we should have done it. But this year, we beat them 2 years ago. Why are we rushing the field again? I don't understand it, Harbin. What do you think?
Honestly, I'm semi 50-50 on getting on the field. Like you could argue for it, and I'll listen. If you make good points, I'd say, okay, sure. My honest stance is don't get on the field. Don't give them that satisfaction because we are rivals. It's not like, and Saban's gone. It's not like this wasn't like some big underdog story. The,
Yeah,
sp- the spread was a field goal. It wasn't this massive upset. Hell, that team lost almost said a really bad curse word that you're gonna have to drop a
edit.
beep on. Yeah, Bama lost to Vanderbilt this month, and we're storming the field. I understand it's still Alabama and they still wear the same jerseys, but A, we're better than that. And two, like this just wasn't the Alabama team to do that against. Let's just call it like it is. Great win, huge win, but it's not tear down the effing goalpost worthy. It's just not. Like the second that they started tearing down the goalpost, like I honestly got embarrassed. I did.
Yeah,
I did. Like I hate the way that sounds, but it's true. Like, if you really want to stick it to Alabama and their fans after that reign of terror that they've had, for them going 0-2 in the state of Tennessee this season, what would kill them the most is if we sing Dixieland Delight, light up a cigar, and walk out single file and just act like it was regular business. That's how you hurt somebody that's already had it all. You don't hurt them by beating them two times in a row in your stadium. Fun fact, the last time they won was a COVID year in Neyland. So the last time they won with a full capacity crowd was 6 years ago. I'm
yeah.
not I'm not letting that one die. I'll be using that one for a while. Um yeah, I just don't agree with it. Like you said, like we're at a level to where it's sustained ish. Uh way more sustained than the last 15, 20 years for sure. Um, but yeah, I hated it just to be point blank and 100% honest. And if you defend it, you're part of the problem. And if that offends some of the listeners out there, then so be it, because Tennessee's just in a state where we don't need to do that against a team that's that.
No, I totally agree with that. That's why I told like, who was it after the game? You were there. I don't know if you heard it or not. It may have been when you were trying to figure out the Bluetooth speaker, which I figured out, by the way, this afternoon, what was wrong with it.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I basically had to do a hard reset of the Bluetooth speaker. Long story short here, we were playing some music after the game in the parking lot on my Bluetooth speaker. Harbin wanted to play some quote bangers, and we couldn't get his phone to connect to the Bluetooth. Hell, he couldn't even find it. And then I couldn't connect back to it. I tried this afternoon for 15 minutes to connect to it, and I finally decided to look up like potential problems with this thing. And the very last one was if you can't connect, hold the power button down for 10 seconds, do a hard reset. Held the power button down for 10 seconds, hard reset, turn it back on, straight up connected. So we'll keep that in our memory banks, Harbin, for next time that it does that. Hopefully it won't do it again. But anyway, I compared last night's win. It probably wasn't on the scale of last night's win, but kind of how the game played out and what it meant and everything to the 96 game. It was the very first Bama game I ever went to. Tennessee won 20-13. It was a tight ball game, back and forth, not a lot of offense in it. 13-13 late in the game. Peyton Manning hands off to Jay Graham, bust a 60-yard run. Or was it 80 yards? I can't remember. 60 or 80-yard run up the right side toward the north end zone. Tennessee takes the lead. Bama drives the field under Freddie Kitchens, and they can't score late. Tennessee, Leonard Little strips Freddie Kitchens there late to seal the deal. We didn't rush the field. You can go back and watch it. That game's on YouTube. No one rushed the field, and that was the second year in a row we'd beaten Bama after not beating them for like 10 years. I guess 84 was the last time we beat, so it may have been 11. Um, Actually, it was a winless streak. They tied in 93. Anyways, no one rushed the field. So that's why I didn't understand why. And I get it. There were some people there that were excited, and there was a handful of people ran out on the field, and then others in the crowd saw them. They're like, "Hell, let's go!" And then they all went. And I'm not putting anybody down that. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not putting anybody down that ran out on the field. I kind of thought crossed my mind. I was like, "Do I need to go down there?" Because I didn't go 2 years ago because I couldn't get down there. But we just sat in the stand, smoked a cigar, and soaked it all in, and watched as they tried to carry the goalpost out, and then the police started tasing people. We literally, it finally came out this afternoon. There was some video from down on the field where they're at least threatening their tasers. I don't know if they actually got anybody with them, but you could hear the taser out because it looks like they've installed and purchased goalposts last time that just basically like just pop off of the pole in the ground. They can just put them right back on because those things didn't snap off like they did 2 years ago. But they were doing whatever they could to not let those goalposts leave the stadium. Um, so, and that included whipping the tasers out from the police. So that's our thoughts on the field rushing. I am torn on it. I just didn't feel like it was appropriate last night, given that Alabama has a loss to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt is better this year, but this is not Dynasty Alabama anymore. They're just not. Um, you can see it on the field. They're undisciplined. They're not as good. They've got a lot of talent out there, but I don't think they're a playoff team. They might be a fringe playoff team. Tennessee's kind of a fringe playoff team right now, but I just don't think Alabama's field rushing worthy. Honestly, Tennessee shouldn't be rushing the field for anybody right now anymore. We're a top 10 or 15 program. Let's act like it. And that's enough on that, Harbin. What do you think?
Does Ryan Williams transfer?
Hmm.
And if he does, how demoralizing would that be for Alabama and their recruiting?
I don't know what their quarterback situation's like next year after Milroe's gone, but
I think is it not Ty Simpson season?
God, he's still there. I guess he is, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what class he is. Hell, he might be out too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they'll have some 5-star or 4-star down there, but Tennessee's got a lot of like 4 and 5 stars coming in behind Nico. So um, it's hard to tell any with the way the transfer portal is and how everybody moves around. Yeah, he could. He's good though. Wherever he goes, if he stays at Alabama or goes somewhere else, he's good.
Oh, for
I'll give
sure.
him that.
I don't, just for the record, I don't think he does. I just kind of wanted to be semi chicken shit.
Yeah. So looking ahead, rest of the season, Tennessee's on a bye next week. Um, so thank God we got a week off before we host Kentucky. UT grounds crew's got a lot of work to do. They can't be making knockoffs of the Morgan Wallen entrance video, which was fantastic, by the way. Um, but they got a lot of work to do because there's dinglings that were ripping the sod up off the field last night. Like, what are we doing?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's so much dumber than taking the goalpost down. Like that is the one thing that like actually irritated me. Like we did it 2 years ago. Like why are you ripping grass up? Thank God we have a bye week.
Yeah. What are they going to do if they played next week? What were they going to do?
It's just so unbelievably stupid.
So looking ahead, we got a bye week next week. You're right, that was stupid. We got a bye week next week, and then we come back on November 2nd, hosting Kentucky. It's going to be a night game at Neyland, either 6, 7, or 8 o'clock, or 6 or 8 o'clock. Probably going to be blackout game, I would assume. Tennessee's 89.6% matchup predictor FPI to win that game. Kentucky's not very good. Week after that, we host Mississippi State at Neyland Stadium again. Tennessee's 92.4% chance to win that game. So probably going to be pretty heavily favored in those two games. That would sit Tennessee at 8-1 going into a matchup with the Bulldogs. They've got one loss. I don't know who they've got before that. Georgia's favored to win that game right now, 61.1%. Kind of figured that one. Then after that, Tennessee hosts
UTEP.
somebody, UTEP at home. So obviously we're 99% chance to win that game. UTEP's 1-6. Then you go to Vandy. Vandy and Tennessee is 83% chance to win that game. So Tennessee's very heavily, according to the analytics, favored to win Kentucky, Mississippi State, UTEP, and Vandy. So that would put them at 10 wins. And if the stats hold true, which I don't think Georgia's unbeatable, they're just going to be tough to beat at Sanford Stadium. That puts Tennessee at 10-2. I had Tennessee going 10-2. I think you had it. What did you have us at? 10-2. So about where we predicted us to be. But they got to go out and take care of business. But don't know. Is that a playoff team? I don't know. We'll see. Go ahead, Harbin.
I did say we would lose to Arkansas and split with Alabama and Georgia.
You did.
I just want to point that out.
The Swami.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope we run the table.
God, it'd be great to go down there to Georgia and win. And we can talk about this right now because we don't have a game this week. But if Tennessee can take care of business against Kentucky and Mississippi State, which I think they should and will do, it's just going to set up another massive game in the SEC. It could have, or probably if both teams take care of their business, Tennessee and Georgia, that game could have a trip to Atlanta riding on it for the SEC championship. But it's definitely got some playoff. I mean, I don't know where Tennessee might be at by that point in the playoff projections. I think right now the one I saw today were the 11 seed traveling to Penn State. It's kind of almost too early for me to be. I look at it, but I don't really put too much stock in it because there's so many games left. It's kind of like looking at the projections for the NCAA tournament in like late January. You can't. It's going to change 7, 8, 9, 10 times before you get to March, middle of March. So, but Tennessee's right there, man. They are a playoff contender. I didn't change my mind after Arkansas because we still got everything in front of us. Now, if they slip up against Kentucky or Mississippi State, then or Vandy, then yeah, they're not. They're not going to the playoffs. But if they win those four games against Vandy, UTEP, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and lose to Georgia, they're right there. I mean, how can a 10-2 team in the SEC not be in the conversation for a playoff and possibly hosting a playoff game? I mean, I think if we did, we'd probably be like an 7 or 8 seed at the best. But you're talking about being a 9 or a 10 seed at that point. So, in my opinion, but a lot of football to play out. A lot could change between now and this time next month. But what's your thoughts? We're going into a bye, Harbin. What's your thoughts on what this team's got to do for the last half of the season?
You just gotta keep getting better. That sounds cliche and like a weak answer, but it's true. Um, I think the last few weeks have kind of woke us up a little bit. I think you saw that in the second half of the Alabama game. Um, this team also controls their own destiny
Mhm.
at this point. I mean, we're over halfway through the season, and we can say that. Um, and I don't want to talk about playoffs because the first playoff poll's not even out yet. Um, but I think you can still not win in Athens and still make it. I really do, especially with how the SEC is shaking up so far. There's no undefeateds. I want to say there's five teams with one loss. I know for a
Think
fact
so.
because A&M, LSU, uh, Texas, us, and Georgia. That's five, ain't it? And Ole Miss.
Yes, Ole Miss is in there.
Yeah, so there's six teams with one loss right now. Um, Literally everything is in front of you. Don't worry about what everybody else does. Rest up on the bye week. Get ready for Kentucky. You don't need to be thinking about Georgia right now. You don't play Georgia for 3 more weeks. Um, Rest up, do what you need to do with Kentucky, and then start preparing for Mississippi State. Um, it's like we've kind of said all year. The most important game of the season right now is the Kentucky game because it's the next one in front of you.
Let's see here. Bleacher Report put out 7 hours ago their projected playoff standings, but it's basically based off the AP top 25. It's got Oregon is the 1 seed versus 4 seed Iowa, or sorry, 1 seed Oregon, 2 seed Georgia, 3 seed Miami, 4 seed Iowa State, 5 seed Texas versus 12 seed Boise State, 6 seed Penn State versus number 11 LSU, 7 seed Ohio State hosting number 10 seed Notre Dame, and number 8 seed Tennessee hosting number 9 seed Clemson at Neyland Stadium. Again, that's obviously the AP poll, coaches poll, and the playoff poll when it comes out. I think it comes out 1st of November. It's going to be totally different. The playoff poll is going to be totally different than the AP poll, which is basically voting on, you got just random journalists, media members voting on teams, where the playoff projection is going to be more of an analytically based. I don't want to call it BCS, but there's more that goes into it than just, yeah, this team's playing pretty well right now. Let's put them here. Um, I'm trying to find one. Trying to find one that is based on that. I saw that On Three has one where Tennessee's FP or their football power index model has Tennessee number 6. Still had Alabama at 5, which was wild, but they said their strength of their schedule and losing to Tennessee didn't affect them, um, which was crazy. But I don't know. This is the first time we're ever going through this, so it's kind of hard to get a read on what it might look like here in a couple weeks. But all Tennessee can do is what, Harbin? JWTDG. That's all you can do.
That's all it's ever been about. Seriously.
And it's all that it will continue to be about. JWTDG. I wish we could get that on the jerseys, like get
That'd,
a patch,
be,
JWTDG on their jerseys, like we wear into the stadium on our shirts.
that'd be cool. I think they may never lose again if they did that.
You got and tap it every time you're down, something's going wrong. Just tap that and remember JWTDG. Just win the damn game. It doesn't matter. I yelled it last night. I was like, give the ball to Sampson. He's got 2 weeks to rest. Give the ball to Sampson. Run him out of gas. He's got 2 weeks to rest. You boys got to lay it on the line here. You can rest tomorrow and all next week or next weekend. You're off. Lay it on the line right here and make a play. And they did. So JWTDG works. Um, so no game next week, Harbin. So we don't have anything to talk about as far as Tennessee next week. So we're going to pick some games here. Um, First one on the docket, Harbin, is let me pull it up here. Notre Dame versus Navy. Who would have thought that we were picking this game at the start of the season?
The
Notre
top,
Dame at Navy.
it's a
Number
top 5 matchup.
This is a huge. I don't think you people understand. This is a huge matchup. If Navy continues to win, Army's also in the same boat. I don't know if they're still undefeated or not. But if Navy continues to win, I mean, they have a real shot of going undefeated this year. That Army Navy game in December, I don't know how does that going to work, Harbin, is because their conference title games are before then. So both teams theoretically could play in a conference title game before they play each other. I guess that game would count toward playoffs, or would the playoffs already be announced at that point? I don't know how this works. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
I just know one thing. If Army and Navy are both undefeated when they play, cancel the playoff.
Yeah,
Just
postpone it.
no, just absolutely cancel it. That's the national championship game.
That would be wild if they were both undefeated.
I obviously I'm being facetious, but I'm so serious when I say that. Like Army Navy undefeated. How more American can it get? Also, I saw a stat. I saw a stat. Army and Navy were both 6-0 for the first time since I think it was 1945.
Wow, that's
So
crazy.
literally just fresh off bombing the Japanese. We're just winning football games in the academies.
Well, hell, I'm
So
trying to find what conference is Army? They're Conference USA. So let me see if I can pull them up here. I'm trying to find what they're where they're at. Um, Sorry everybody. I feel like I've let us down here. I should have looked this up beforehand before we got into it, but good grief. Do they ever play? They're not on any schedule I'm finding. Or are they not in Conference USA? I thought they were. Never mind. I don't know what conference they're in. Maybe they're still independent.
one of them is in the American.
Maybe it's the American Conference. Let's see. Ah, here they are. They're ranked 23rd. Army is, and they are also undefeated. And they've got Air Force on. They're off this week. They're hosting Air Force on November 2nd on CBS. That's always one of my favorite games. Not getting off topic a little here, but Army Navy is always one of my favorite games to watch. And if they're both undefeated when that game rolls around, wow, unbelievable. Hopefully, we've got Trump elected by then and he'll show up to make it even more epic, like he did a few years ago.
Uh, Side note, there's an incredible college basketball slate on the same day of the Army Navy game. So could be an all-time Saturday.
Wow. I'll have to look that up. Is Tennessee part of that?
I want to say it's Tennessee, Illinois.
Oh, nice. That'd be a good game.
Yeah,
Oh,
in
by the way, next Sunday, Tennessee hosts Indiana at Thompson Bowling Arena in one of these charity classic games. I've got tickets to it. I'm not sure if I can go yet. I'm playing in a golf tournament Sunday, and I don't won't know what time I play. So, I hopefully get to go. Game's at 3 o'clock, Thompson Bowling Arena. I don't know anything about Indiana. I hadn't looked them up yet, but that game is Sunday at Thompson Bowling Arena at 3 o'clock. So stay tuned to your TV guide to see what channel that's on. I'm sure it'll be on TV. All right, Harbin, back to the picks. Notre Dame at Navy. And I'm looking at the wrong week here.
Notre Dame is a 13 and a half point favorite.
12 o'clock ABC at MetLife Stadium. It's not on campus at Navy in Annapolis. Who you
I'm gonna
got?
I'm gonna rock with my country. I'm gonna go with Navy to cover. I don't know if they win, but I like them to cover. I mean, they've showed that they're gritty, but they're also a very good football team. Um, Notre Dame's been unimpressive at times, but they're also a team that's kind of hard to figure out. They lose to Northern Illinois, but they beat A&M, and at the time we didn't think A&M was very good. And next thing you know, they've beat everybody else that they've come across. So I don't know. It's a tricky one, but I'm going to roll with the midshipmen to cover 13 and a half.
Navy quarterback Blake Horvath Jr. Is 16th in the country in rushing yards per game at 103.5 yards per game. He has 10 rushing touchdowns. Also, while I'm on the topic, Dylan Sampson is 11th in the country, first in the SEC at 119.7 yards per game rushing with 17 rushing touchdowns. I'm gonna go with Navy to cover. I'm like you, I don't know if they win, but God, I hope they do. We got to get Notre Dame out of this playoff talk. I told my sister when we were in Louisiana a few weeks ago, um, me and her and my brother-in-law were talking, and he brought up Notre Dame, and my sister and I both said it at the same time, which we don't agree on a lot of things, so it's kind of wild. Um, like the media and football elites will do anything they can to keep Notre Dame in the conversation. Them in Michigan, and they will look for any way to try to get that program into the inaugural 12 team playoff. Navy needs to go out here and beat Notre Dame. Let's eliminate them. Let's just take care of them. Get them out of the way. Plus, I want to see Navy and Army be undefeated when they play each other. Just an epic atmosphere, epic football game in mid-December. I don't know where it's at this year. It's usually either in East Rutherford or Philadelphia or Baltimore. So, God, that would be great. So we're both rocking Navy to cover in that one. Next game on the list, Illinois versus the Ducks from Oregon. And it looks like Oregon is 21.5 point favorites, according to ESPN Bet. 3:30 kickoff on CBS from Autzen Stadium in Eugene. Who do you got, Harbin?
Um, First part of the season, I didn't know if Oregon was as good as advertised, but they're one of those programs like elite programs are. They've gotten better seemingly in each game they've played this season, and I think they're rolling. Also, Eugene's a hard place to play, especially in the Big Ten, because those schools are just not used to traveling that far. Um, Illinois is a good football team. Don't get me wrong, 21 and a half seems like a lot for a one-loss Illinois team, but when you kind of dive into it a little bit more, Illinois has played two road games this season. The first one was in Lincoln against the Cornhuskers, and they skated by with an overtime victory. And I believe we're learning that Nebraska is not as good as what people were trying to make them out to be. And they lost 21-7 in Happy Valley. And Penn State's obviously a very good football team. Um, like Oregon. Give me Oregon to cover. Think it's the correct play. Um, I just don't know if Illinois has the firepower to keep up with Oregon. Um, their defense may keep them in it for the first half, but I think Oregon pulls away. I think they win big.
I agree. I'm taking Oregon. Oregon's 91.5% chance to win that football game. Give me the Ducks. Not a believer in Illinois. I think Brett Bielema is making some strides there for the Fighting Illini, but don't think they're ready to beat Oregon. Next game, interesting matchup here. I think you and I both kind of gagged a little bit when we saw it when we were talking about our games, but number 21 Missouri at number 15 Alabama, 3:30 kickoff, ABC Bryant-Denny Stadium, Alabama minus 14. What do you think about this one?
Uh, Missouri's not very good. I just don't think they are. Um, but with that being said, Alabama has not looked the same since halftime of the Georgia game. Um, obviously, Vandy beat them, skated by against South Carolina, who may be a little bit better than what we thought they were. Um, and then obviously the tide fell in Knoxville this past week. 14 seems like a lot for a team that hasn't played very good in 3.5 games. So reluctantly, I'm going to take Missouri to cover. I really am. What time's that kickoff?
3:30.
Yeah, I already said it. Give me Missouri to cover. God, and I hate that. I hate that pick. Um, but just point blank, Bama's gonna have to show me that they can beat anybody by 14 right now.
I can't. We're going on. We're picking the same teams here, but just sitting here thinking about it, that just seems like a lot of points for an Alabama team right now that's just struggling to figure some stuff out. Against South Carolina, it was a tight game, and they were lucky to get out of there with a win. They didn't play particularly well against Tennessee. They obviously didn't play well at Vandy 3 weeks ago. I just I don't believe I used to never pick against Alabama, but Nick Saban's not there anymore. I don't I'm not saying Missouri wins, but 14 seems like a lot of points to me. I'm taking Missouri to cover this one. I feel like you do, Harbin. I don't think Missouri is very I shouldn't say they're not very good. I don't think they're a playoff team at all, and they're kind of on the outside looking in right now. A win over Alabama would help their cause. I believe they only have one loss right now. Is that correct? They're 6-1. Their only loss was to Texas A&M, and that's turned out to be a pretty good loss if you want to call it that. But they've only beat Auburn, UMass, Vandy, Boston College. That's a decent win. Buffalo and Murray State. So they don't have much of a schedule left either. Alabama is the only ranked team they got left. They got Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas. So I don't think either one of these teams are playing particularly well right now. I think Alabama wins because they're playing at Bryant-Denny, but I give me Missouri to cover. Let's see. Next game. Harbin. I think we're going to the Big Ten, aren't we? Penn
Sure are.
State. Penn State at Wisconsin. Um, Going up to Madison. And if I can find it here, what's the line on this one?
6.5, Penn State.
There you go. 7:30 p.m. kickoff, NBC, Camp Randall Stadium. Who do you got? Penn State or the Badgers?
That's a weird one. It really is. Wisconsin's only two losses was to Alabama, which Alabama went up there and kind of throttled them. And then they go all the way to Los Angeles for a conference game, which is so dumb to me. Um, they hung around. USC just blew them out of the water in the second half. Outside of that, Wisconsin demolished Purdue and Rutgers. I'm not sure if either one of them are very good. Beat up on Northwestern. everything screams to pick Penn State in this game, so that's why I'm picking Wisconsin. Uh, Penn State feels like the obvious choice, but Madison's a weird place to play, especially at what time?
7:30.
Yeah, it's a night game. Give me the Badgers to cover and potentially win, shake things up a little bit.
So here's where we differ for the first time. I'm taking Penn State. I don't think they'll blow them out by any means, but I think they cover the 6.5. I think I could see them winning by 8 or 10, something like that. But I think the Nittany Lions go to Madison and continue their winning ways. They it would improve them to 7-0. They're definitely in playoff contention right now. So give me the Nittany Lions in that one. That's our first difference of picks. As we head to our last game of the day, Harbin, probably the main event in the SEC this week, I guess you could say. Number 8 LSU at number 14 Texas A&M. This is a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC at Kyle Field. Tickets going for as low as $215. What a steal! A&M's minus 2.5 in this game. LSU's obviously rebounded since that loss to USC, which is looking worse and worse by the day. USC is 3-4 now. Things are spiraling out of control there in LA, but I couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. What do you think about this game? It's a battle for the number 1 seed in the SEC right now. Both teams are undefeated in conference play. One of them's going to go home with an L. What do you think about it?
Give me the Tigers. Um, I don't know. Anytime LSU's in a game where I feel like it's an absolute toss up, I'd normally lean towards them just because their fans were so damn good to us 2 years ago. Um, but I don't know. This is honestly two teams in the SEC that I can't really get a grasp on. I think LSU, like we said about a lot of good teams, are starting to play some of their best ball. Um, but the same could be said about A&M. I know it's going to be prime time under the lights in Kyle Field, weird place to play. Um, but I like LSU for some reason. I think this game's really a coin flip, and if they play 10 times, it probably goes 5-5, maybe 6-4. Um, but I'm riding with the Bayou Bengals,
I'm going to take A&M just simply for the fact that they're playing at home
and
because
because
they look pretty even. I was looking at the matchup predictor here. A&M's favored 52.7% to win, so that's pretty much a coin flip. Um, I just A&M's at home. I don't know what to make of this game. I give me the Aggies to cover. They'll win by 3, maybe. We'll see. It'd be kind of wild that A&M, if they win this game, would be. I mean, you wouldn't think anything of it if LSU was head of the conference right now. I mean, it'd be a little bit of a surprise, but A&M being at the top of the conference through what is it, or what are we in, 8 weeks now? That's a surprise to me. So, um, this is a huge game. I mean, both teams are in playoff contention. A&M's kind of outside looking in probably right now, but a win will vault them up quite a bit and could knock LSU out, possibly. So massive game at Kyle Field Saturday night. There for top spot in the SEC. Harbin, what you got going on this weekend since there's no game? What's your plans for the off week?
I'm actually going on a bachelor party. Uh, this has been my majorly busy season of the year. Just I mean, it's been a lot of enjoyable stuff, but just everything kind of happening at once. So uh, after this, schedule's kind of wide open. Obviously looking forward to the weekend, but I'm also kind of looking forward to not really having much to do, just kind of going back to normal life for a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'll probably have on some Chacos and in the sun watching it.
Nice.
Yeah, go on a cruise. Funny enough, kind of an odd bachelor party, but I'm in for it. I've never been on a cruise.
Hey, you, as our good friend Ricky Householder says, you only YOLO once, Harbin.
Hey, that's right. It was funny though, because like the groom is the only guy. Well, I know two. I know two of the guys going. So the whole group message is just straight unsaved numbers that I really don't even know who they are. Uh,
Ah,
and the guy texted it, and he was like, "Hey Austin, would you like me to add the drink package for your room?" He said, "If you have 3 or 4 drinks today, it pays for itself." So I had to play. I had to play it cool a little bit. They don't know me. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I believe I'll take it. Yeah,
yeah, go ahead and mark me down for that one.
yeah, yeah. I think that'll work."
What a deal. What a deal.
Yeah, absolute steal. So many chocolate milks.
The chocolate milks will be flowing like wine.
I may be lactose intolerant by the time I get back.
By the way, speaking of chocolate milks, um, the Cheech and Chong's drink I had yesterday at the tailgate, I wish Roll Tide Willie. I need to text him. Like, he needs to taste test that. I was hacking and everything like him after I taste tested it yesterday. Awful. Don't try it. But if you left your cooler with us yesterday, please contact me this week and come get it. I've got coolers everywhere in the garage. I think I'm up to like 9 or 10 right now. So it's not bothering anything, but if you think about it, one day this week, holler at your boy here and I'll even meet up with you to give you your cooler back. I really don't want all these coolers sitting in my garage for the next 2 weeks. Running out of room out here, Harbin. So you're not one of them because you ride with us to the game. But if you come by and tailgate with us and you leave your cooler, which I'm perfectly okay with you doing, and don't take that the wrong way, but please contact me. Come get your cooler this week. Thank you.
Be better.
Um, I took my payment from you for leaving your cooler with me, and it's safely in my refrigerator out here in the garage. So, um, yeah, hit me up. So, off week, Harbin, I'm going to play some golf this weekend. I have not touched the golf club in a month, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. We're playing in a 3-day, two-man tournament at historic Dandridge Golf and Country Club.
Oh, yeah, I played in that last year.
It's a good turn. We've played in it before. Good tournament. I think the last time we played in it, it poured rain on the final round. We actually shot our best round of the. I think we shot 4 under that day somehow. I mean, literally, it wasn't like a rain shower. It was water was starting to stand on the greens by the time we got done.
Who's
I
your
was
who's your partner?
Burkhart,
Okay,
and he has also not touched the club in a month. So we were
I haven't.
texting. We were texting today. Like, I'm not sure how this is going to go. So we'll see.
I haven't. I haven't played at all. Outside of handing mine at a club, I haven't really touched one either.
Sometimes I find myself playing better when I don't play. If I play a lot, I get in bad habits for some reason, but you would think it would be the opposite. But no, I hadn't played in a month, so interested to see how that goes. But the weather looks fantastic, so excited about doing that. Halloween weekend, it's Chad Grubb's birthday coming up this weekend, loyal listener of the show. So if we don't record next week, which there's a possibility we don't, happy birthday, Grubby.
Happy birthday, Grub.
He is a loyal listener to the show. He listens every week. So shout out Grub.
Uh,
That's what the C's for behind me here. You think it's the Cubs, but it's Chad Grub.
uh, for Grub's birthday, I want to see matching outfit photos.
Did I read something the other day? I might need to look this up. This might be totally wrong, but people who take matching pictures for like, family photos or all that, aren't they like more likely to turn out to be like serial killers or something? Or am I making this up?
I mean, I haven't heard that.
I need to do some research. I swear I saw something on this the other day.
I would say whoever in the family's idea it is probably linked to be more of a serial killer.
I don't think Hunter's a serial killer, but
I didn't say she was.
no, no. But Grub got earlier this summer with his matching outfit at the beach. So that was pretty good. So he will not be in a matching outfit for his birthday. I already know what his outfit is. So I won't spoil it, but you might see it over the weekend. If there's any pictures posted. There may not be any pictures posted. Grub's not a big picture guy. No pictures, niece. No videos. All right. Well, I'm gonna get off here, get this thing edited and prettied up for everybody. I'll post some pictures on the YY8 Instagram from Saturday's game. Took a lot of videos, pictures. Look us up on our YouTube channel, whether you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple. Go on to our YouTube channel. I thought we picked up a few more subscribers over the weekend. I mentioned it to some people at the tailgate yesterday, and they hopped on the YouTube app and liked our podcast. So if you're one of the new followers listening to this, thanks for subscribing. Remember to like and subscribe and share. Um, but go on our YouTube channel and check out some of the videos we posted. And we'll post every episode here for this. But again, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then listen. If you don't want to watch us and look at our ugly faces, then you can listen to us while you're driving or working on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts. I'm going to get off here and go rest my voice. I saw my uncle this morning, Harbin, and he literally was whispering. He could not talk. It was kind of incredible. And I wasn't much better off. A little better as the day's gone along, but not much. I'm tired, Harbin. I'm wore out. Yesterday wore me out.
It's been a long week.
Mm.
The good thing for us and the listeners, we have a bye week to recover. Um, maybe take a little evening that you don't have much going on. Maybe just go rolling down a backwood Tennessee byway, with one arm on the wheel. Maybe hold your lover with the other. As as a lot of people say, it's a sweet, soft Southern thrill. Um, just enjoy this late October week, and we'll get back and prepare to send Kentucky back to the coal mines.
Yes, sir. We'll get ready for the Wildcats. Harbin, you enjoy your cruise and the chocolate milks. I hope you drink more than 3 a day to make that package pay for itself.
I will see. I hope I didn't overpay.
I think you'll be okay. Uh, but I'm gonna go rest my voice. I don't have any sports to announce this week. Carter football's on the road. They've completed their home schedule, so no more games to announce. So I might go silent tomorrow, just not talk to anybody and rest my voice here. Not my throat, but my voice.
Well, sure, it's not getting a rest.
Yeah. What? No, no comment. All right. Appreciate everybody listening. Go Vols. Vols are 6-1. Get fired up. For Harbin, negative niece. Shout out Big Montana Day Day Vol. We smoked cigars together in Z11 yesterday. Maybe they'll be back on here soon. You have been listening to the Section YY8 podcast. Go Vols.